Hi, I'm James Woodfield Jones and welcome to Ordinary or Extraordinary. From the age of 4, I have always had an obsession with martial arts. I had a dream, I had a vision to be involved in martial arts, to coach and train for a lifetime. Fast forward 40 years and now I'm a successful owner of a studio and I get to live my dream of sharing this beautiful art with many, many people. In this podcast, we'll be speaking to ordinary but extraordinary people who have lived their dreams, had a vision, and gone forth, committed through hardships and through adversity, and made their dream happen. We hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to speaking to many extraordinary people on this podcast. Ordinary or extraordinary. This time I speak to Mark Evans, CEO of 4 companies globally, a very successful individual, but keeping his soul whilst keeping that success in business, staying who he is, staying honest to himself, honest to his businesses, while still being successful. This was an absolute treat for me, as I've known Mark for many years, and Mark is still the same person he was 25 years ago as he is now. With all of his success, he is still the same person, but Mark is extraordinary. I hope you enjoy this podcast. Okay guys, episode 4, Ordinary Extraordinary. I've actually got the pleasure of this gentleman now here in person. He's in Perth, Western Australia, Mr. Mark Evans.
Great to see you, James.
Thank you, my friend. I've known Mark for a long time, one of my brother's friends, and was actually my MC in our wedding, and love the guy, great fun. If we look a bit sweaty, we just had a little bit of training on the mats, a little bit of playtime, so we'll go raw, we'll get the camera going and have a chat to Mark. Mark's got many successful businesses, but you know, ordinary, extraordinary, this is what the podcast's for, and Mark's come a long way, and thought we'd check it out and chat to him about that today. So Mark, where did you originally come from?
So
From a
James,
young lad.
like yourself, born in England, so grew up as a young lad in England, and then as a teenager was brought to Australia by my parents, emigrated beyond my wishes at that time. But of course, Australia's a great place and it's been a pleasure to be here. So started in England, grew up most of my childhood in Perth, and have been on the road over the last 10 years.
You've been all over the world, correct?
I have. In the last sort of 10 years, I've lived in Dubai for a few years. I lived in Ukraine, I've lived in the Philippines, and currently living in Singapore, and stuck in Perth for COVID.
Perfect timing, hence we have the man in person. So what was your first job?
So this is going to be quite a surprise, and I surprise a lot of people with this. I was an apprentice carpenter. So started off as a tradie when I was 15 years old, so left school very, very young. Went into an apprenticeship at actually Western Power, the equivalent of Western Power. Did a 4-year apprenticeship and entered the construction industry. And ever since then, I've been a variety of different roles, but it's been a very, very exciting journey.
And how did you get the opportunity to go to where you are now? You went from carpentry and then you went into, was it homes? Was it the homes business?
Yeah, not exactly. If you remember, James, and you'll remember this, I was a private investigator for many, many years. My art was surveillance. I was, following people for a living. Then, built my own company, which was called Total Investigation Services. And that really went sort of technical, and as technology progressed, it became, very much equipment-based, hidden cameras and all that kind of installs. So went into that. Then I actually went into home sales, working for the Dale Alcott Group, and went into sales and did very, very well. Was very successful in sales, so much so they made me the boss. And then went into sales and marketing for the group, and was then, offered a position in Melbourne, which was to open 2 new building companies in Melbourne, and grew that to around $220 million business in around 3 years.
Wow.
In Melbourne. So that was good. And then if you want to know the rest of it,
how long we got?
I'll keep it as brief as I can.
No, it's good. Excellent.
So had an opportunity to move into the IT industry. So as you can see, very, very, different as far as where I came from. And it's been absolutely fantastic. Technology is obviously a great sector to be in. It's been progressing very well. And I've basically, I am the CEO of Dreamscape Networks, which has a variety of brands under it, but the most famous brand in Australia is Crazy Domains.
Yes.
We are the #1 provider for domains and hosting and websites in Australia, and we're also #1 in New Zealand now, and we're #1 in Singapore. So it's been rapid growth. Have around 1,100 staff globally as we speak right now. And the value of the company is in the hundreds of millions. So yeah, we're doing well. It's been a fantastic journey, great learning curve. From days as a carpenter to the CEO of a technology company.
And for those people who would say, "Oh, that just obviously landed in your lap, Mark," no, definitely not. Hence, we're chatting in the podcast, obviously ordinary, extraordinary, and why I wanted to chat to Mark, because Mark is, with respect, as we all are, ordinary, but we're all extraordinary, and you've got a choice. Which one do you want to be? Now, you said you had an opportunity, but the opportunity came through you as a person, your personality, and that opportunity that was given to you was because of you, not because of any other reason, but you as a person and your drive, your personality, your charisma, but #1, your positivity. So for those people who said it landed in your lap, what would you say to that?
That has happened a lot to me, James.
I presume it would
You
have.
hear that, you're lucky you're in the right place at the right time. But it's a very simple philosophy for myself, and it was always to be the hardest worker in the room. Didn't matter what I did or what I was doing, I did it to the best of my ability, and I wanted to be the best I could be as a person. So, there's something that I always say: the best way to predict your future is to create it, and that's exactly what I've done. And it's been sheer hard work, persistence. I've never given up at anything that I've done, and you make your own luck in this world. So,
100%.
Positivity is a big part of my life. Very much like yourself. I consider myself as a positive person. A lot of people do, but when you actually dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface, they're actually not. So it's more than a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And to be able to train yourself when a negative thought enters your head, to stop that negative thought in its tracks and to replace it with something positive, something that is important to you in your life. And everyone can do it, but you've got to be self-aware to be able to do that. And that was a very long-winded answer again, but look, positivity, absolutely. Hardest worker in the room, never give up. Doing what I love and love what I do, there's no second guess to that. It's, if I'm not happy doing something, I will find something I'm happy doing. And I will put absolutely everything into that challenge, and I will make sure I do it to the best of my ability.
100%. And it's not long-winded. It's great because people need to hear it. I always think as well, it's or what you surround yourself with, who you surround yourself with, everything you take in, whether it be from food to TV to people you surround yourself with, you become what you're around and what you're taking in. So what you're ingesting, not just from food, but from people, has that played a big part in your life? Have you had to move away from some people, maybe a little bit negative, or a little bit hate on you, to make that next step and say, not in a ruthless way, but in a way for you to move forward, because you can't be around negativity. I have done in my life, and I will continue to do so if it need be. I think it's important to surround yourself with the same vision. It's not about the money, it's not about anything, it's about the soul level of who you are, and you must align yourself with people of that same mentality.
Absolutely, without a doubt. So look, I was a little bit of a slow learner at this. And what I mean by that, the people you hang around with or the people you spend most of your time with is a reflection of yourself. Now, you always have some negative people in your life, whether they're from your family, whether they're close friends or someone you went to school with or you grew up with. And, you have to come to a realization that at some point you've got to cut them free.
Yes.
Let them loose, move on. Now, as I said, I was a little bit slow on the uptake of that. I was always trying to help everybody around me. You know, I consider myself a good person, and you try and help these people that don't want to help themselves. And there comes to a point in your life where you just have to move on.
Yep.
It's a tough decision, but it's a decision that you have to make if you want to succeed at whatever it is you're doing. Now, you know, the other thing that I would say is about negativity, and I'm like yourself. I don't entertain negativity. I can't be around negativity. I made a conscious decision it must be 16 years ago now, to never watch the news.
Did I?
I do not watch the news. I do not read the newspaper. I cannot pollute my brain with those negative messages. And yes, of course, you hear about stories. You know, you can't get away from it sometime on social media or on the internet. But generally speaking, I will not pollute my brain with negativity, and I like to keep those thoughts positive. So much so that I am a stickler for writing things down, and I write positive affirmations, and I've been writing positive affirmations now for maybe at least 13, 14 years on a regular basis. And not only that, I write a gratitude list, and to remind myself on a regular basis that the things I should be grateful for in my life, even though there's a lot of other things going on, negativity around you, just to remind yourself, be grateful for what you've got, and that opens the door for more positive things to come in.
Mate, well said. I always think of some people are like crabs in a bucket, and I actually went down to the beach, made this contraption with my sons when they were little, and it took me about 3 hours to catch these 3 crabs to show them, and I put them in a bucket. And if you see crabs, and one of them climbs out, the other ones pull it back in, and you will get some people like this. And like you said, you know, you've got to surround yourself with that positivity. And it's hard to be positive sometimes, especially when you've got the negativity. But like you just said, you've got to cut out where you're taking it from. News, I don't watch the news either. I haven't watched it in God knows how long. I don't read the newspaper, I'm not really interested. I create my own world. We just had this conversation before about actually creating your own existence. Would you say that exercise, fitness, because you need a clean conduit, mind and body, does that play a big part for you? Because you're obviously in shape, and ever since I've known you, you've been in shape. You've been trying to get me ready for a bodybuilding comp, but I couldn't stick to the diet.
I actually remember that. A few days in, you said, "This is it. I'm not doing this."
I didn't get my stickers. So yeah, I know this.
I remember that very well.
Do you think the physicality, and we're not talking body beautiful, that's irrelevant, but keeping your body in shape, because we know, as we spoke of, embodiment, mind and body they need to be connected. To be very intelligent up here, but unintelligent here, and vice versa, you need to have a connection. Do you think exercise and doing something of this nature is important for you?
Honestly, James, you know me very, very well. I don't think there's been a period in my life since being a teenager that I haven't trained. I think the biggest holiday I ever had was 2 weeks off from the gym. So for me, it's more than physical, it's mental. It's mental well-being, it's mindfulness, it's an outlet. You feel good, it gets those endorphins running. I can't function without training, but that's me.
That's me too.
And there's people out there that didn't train, that I've encouraged to train, and they understand that energy creates energy. They're not going to feel more tired if they're pushing themselves. They're going to get that burst of energy. So for me, it's that mental stamina, that mental clarity that you get from the physical training, and you know, along with it comes mental fortitude, which you have to have. And as I was saying, I was reading a book recently about great leaders, and it was, you know, the academic versus the physical. What are the best leaders? What have been the best leaders in history? And it was always those ones that weren't actually the smartest people in the room, but had a mix of academic and a mix of physical, and could put it together to be a very, you know, inspirational leader. So I think exercise is a must.
Yes.
You have to do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for your own mental well-being, and you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to feel great. You're going to feel more energetic. You're going to have that energy. What more could you want?
Yeah, 100%. And this is where the avenue for JiuJitsu, for the studio here, also resilience, because pushing yourself and doing something hard is empowering in itself. And I presume through your journey, through your businesses and your travel, how important and what sort of a part in your life has resilience played? Because I would say at some point when you're traveling and you're on the road a lot and you're dealing with so many people and you've got 1,100 employees with you, you have to have a lot of resilience.
Correct.
Do you think? I think that's probably one of the biggest things in life for people that they maybe struggle with is that resilience.
Absolutely. So look, I like to call it the art of resilience, because I think it is an art, and if you can master that art, there's nothing that you can't do. So for me, resilience is an absolute necessity, and obviously it's something you can work on over years and build up your resilience. So it's a journey, but the resilience comes from persisting, from never giving up, not giving up on your dreams or your wishes and whatever's important to you, and just that keep going when there's people out there saying you shouldn't do it or you can't do it, or you have some haters on social media or whatever it may be. You've got to be resilient, you've got to be bulletproof, you've got to have thick skin, whatever you'd like to call it, to just go, well, this is me, this is what I want to do, and nothing's going to take me off that path. And I think that, funny enough, I just did a speech 2 days ago to my staff, and it was about the journey of 2020. And the title of my speech was Resilience, because we've all been through so much this year with COVID, and for business and for my staff, they were in fear of coming to work. And it was that, encouragement and, giving them that support mentally and physically to, hey, you're going to be okay. We've got to be resilient. We're in this together. We're going to get through it. And that's what I was just talking about with my speech, was to say, hey, here we are, December 2020. We've gotten through it, and it's been a year of resilience.
And it's only going to be growth, because I say to clients, when do you do your most growth? When you're comfortable or when you're uncomfortable? Not when you're comfortable, because nobody goes in there.
Absolutely.
When you're most uncomfortable. So resilience, if someone says to you, but what would be your advice to make people resilient? So those haters on the social media, we've all had them. For me also, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I know who I am. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe it would have bothered me. I was a little bit younger. Now, it doesn't bother me in the slightest. I know exactly who I am, and I think full circle, it has to come down to you knowing who you are, so that you can then go forth, live your dreams, but also keep that resilience. What would you say how do you get to best know yourself?
I like to put it this way, James. I like to talk to my staff and people around me that if you can get to a position where you're comfortable being uncomfortable, that's where you're in a growth stage. And I actually train a lot of my team personally as to, you need to push yourself out of the comfort zone, out of the comfort bubble, and get to that stage where you feel anxiety, you feel a tight chest, you feel a bit nervous. And I said, if you can get to that stage, try and take it for what it is and be comfortable for what it is, and understand that you at that point is you growing. Now, if you can realize that when it happens, instead of going into fear, which is false expectations appearing real, it's, you can take it for what it is and use that to propel yourself forward for growth. And if you don't get to that stage, if you don't go through some sleepless nights and some worrying and some concern, you are not going to grow. So get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And I believe that's probably what holds people back, because they get to that feeling, maybe that tight chest, that uncomfortability of the sleepless nights, and then they back away from it. But you've got to keep pushing forward. But I would say that, and it was interesting that you said that you personally speak to your staff and you're hands-on. You haven't got a million people. I'm sure you've got people helping you out, but you're the one that's hands-on. And I feel the same here, because it's personalized. And I think when you take someone to that position or to that feeling, then you've got to it has to be done in a certain way. It can't be done, I taught my child to swim by pushing him in the deep end.
I said sink or swim. That's not a good idea because there's no inoculation.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some people, whether it be on the mats for jiu-jitsu, whether it be in business, whether it be wherever it is, it's a bit of a sink or swim. So it needs to be, for lack of a better word, a little bit massaged, a little bit helped, and it has to be done in a certain way. Would you agree with this? You still have to make that uncomfortable, but it's got to be done in a correct manner.
Absolutely. So the way I put it, James, is really it's like facilitation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you need to facilitate the way you want them to go and the path and put them on the right path without them really knowing that you're leading them down that path. Making them think that, hey, this is your idea, challenging them with certain questions that brings the answers that you need them to speak of, and then make them realize that this is the way they have to go. So I like to call it a facilitation process. Even though, yes, I'm hands-on, I do a lot of my management training myself, but there comes a point where you get so big and you start to scale that you cannot be there for every training session. So you do have to delegate, and that's also an art, the art of delegation. But if you learn to facilitate them in the right way, they learn that pretty damn quickly, and they start to do the same thing with the other staff, and then you start to scale at this level where everyone is like-minded and positive, everyone's clear on the vision, and I think that's probably what works best in business.
Yes, no, but I say the same. I'm a facilitator here on the mats, and my goal has always been, interesting you say that, I said years ago, my goal when I was first opened my studio is to get people better, but they don't really know it. I don't want an expectation of them coming in and stressing out over it. I want them to have fun, get on the mats, and I'll sort of lead them that way that they need to be led, and they'll get what they need to get out of it, because everybody's got it, but you need the right soil. You don't grow anything in yellow sand. Everything has to be rich soil.
Totally agree. Totally. Sometimes you just got to get it out and give them a push in the right direction, and just help them get to where they need to be until the penny drops and they go, okay,
Yes.
I get it. Because everyone learns at different speeds.
Yes. Yeah.
Someone might pick it up really quick, but someone else might take an extra month or two. But you're getting them there, like you are with your people. Getting them to realise their full potential.
And I think that's actually a super important point, that not everybody's the same. So I can have a seminar in here and I have 50 people in here, there's 50 different perceptions. And the person that doesn't pick it up, someone might pick it up in a week, someone might pick it up in a month, like you said. But that is not wrong, that is good, because everyone's different. So everyone's gonna actually pick it up, but my goal would be, don't tell people not to be shy away from that. If they don't pick it up in a week like Mark did, give it a month, give it 2, give it 6 months, give it a year, but keep persisting. If you persist, it's going to get there eventually. You've got to keep being persistent.
It's like the old gym membership, James. How do gyms make money? They sign people up with all great intentions. It's going to be a great new year of fitness, and I'm going to be focused, and this is what I'm going to do. And then they go for a couple of weeks and they never ever come back. And that's what, unfortunately, majority of the population is like. So if you can step it up and be, that little bit more determined than everyone else, you're going to win.
Yep.
You're going to flourish.
And where everyone else quits, you keep moving forward. And this is me at 44 years young. This is you've hit some walls, but I just climb over those walls. We'll try and run through them. I tried to run through them before. Now I climb over them. But this is super important. How many walls have you hit, Mark?
So that's a great question, James, because I say this openly. I think I've made more mistakes than anyone I know, and I've always been that type of person that just keeps picking himself up and soldiering on. And yes, probably should have learned a little bit quicker, but it's made me the person I am today. So to answer the question, it's very simple. I don't think anyone's hit more walls than myself, and I've just got it wrong so many times. I've believed in things that I thought I could do, and I didn't quite get there. But guess what? Years later, I realised that learning back then has now made me successful here. And people, as have short-term memory, and you think that everything that happens to you, you've got to take that learning away.
Yep.
Like I saw it on your wall over there. You either win or you learn. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in that. You win or you learn, and you must reflect and take that learning away. Otherwise, yes, you are an idiot if you just keep going over and doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is, I think that goes back to what we said before. You know, people get so far, hit a roadblock or hit the wall, and then they give up. You've got to keep persisting. But then you slip into your bad ways, and you slip into eating wrong, or then not going to the gym, not working out, and then you go downhill. But you've got to keep persisting through.
The other thing is you've got to make time, and I can't stand hearing I've got no time.
I know. We've all got 24 hours.
We've all got 24 hours in a day, and as Arnold Schwarzenegger, so put it so well, was sleep less.
Yeah.
And
sleep quicker.
Yeah, sleep quicker. That was it. And I honestly believe that if you haven't got enough hours in the day, or you've got to reflect on what you're doing. You know, are you sitting at home watching Netflix for 3-4 hours a night? Because I'm certainly not. And it's I probably average 6 hours sleep a night, because I know I've got to get up and do my exercise and my training before my day starts. Otherwise, I might not get to it. So make time.
And I think some people they give more than they take for themselves. I think an important lesson, and I love to give, and I know you love to give, but giving to yourself makes you a better person. I always remember, makes you a more powerful person. I always remember being on the plane, and when the old oxygen dropped out, and they said, make sure that you put yours on before you put your children's on. And I'm like, as I love my boys a bit, so I said, well, I'll put theirs on first. And they said, well, and the lady actually said to me, well, if you don't put yours on, you'll be in no position to put theirs on. And I thought, that's actually quite a profound moment. Interesting, but stop making excuses and start making some time for yourself, because the better you are, the better husband you are, the better employer you are, or whatever it may be, you have to make time for yourself. And this is number one, because now the way the world is now, especially with the COVID and a lot of people struggling, and make sure you're in rich soil, because you've been in rich soil as long as I've known you. Like you said before, you don't tolerate negativity, neither do I, and don't apologize for that either. Absolutely. There is a certain way of doing it. It's not about being mean. It's about, again, looking after number one in that positive way, so that you can move forward and help people, and stop making excuses for it.
Yeah, agreed. Well, on top of that, if you're not the best version of you, and you're a father, and you've got a wife, how's that going to reflect on your children? How are they going to grow up? They might not say too much, but they're watching you every second, every minute of the day, the way you react to certain things, the way you talk, the way you interact, the way you socialize. They are watching absolutely everything. Now, if you want your children to be successful, you need to be the best version of you. And that's why you need to make time for yourself.
Yes.
And if it means getting up before your children even wake up and doing your exercise, or doing your reading, or whatever it is you love to do, that's what you need to do.
Yep.
And it's going to pay dividends. It's going to pay off. And it's so important that people realize that.
Yes, everything for me, we just spoke briefly about it, is energy. It's a vibration. You keep your vibration high by eating clean, exercising, being positive, and giving that vibration, then you're going to create more things. Would you agree with this?
Absolutely.
Because I said to someone, if you went and ate McDonald's for a week, didn't exercise for a week, and watched the news every day and all these negative, after a week you're going to feel terrible, and you'll watch everything around your life, or everything comes into your life, nothing moves. It stays the same or gets worse. But as soon as you eat well, and try it, eat well for a week, move well for a week, and only ingest good things, all of a sudden things start to attract. There is no secret.
You feel good. You feel clean.
You feel clean, and when you feel clean, you attract things.
Absolutely.
And this is super important.
So I did something, James, very new, and this is going to sound a bit spiritual. And I've never done this before, and it was recently, just a few weeks ago in Perth, that I tried meditation. I have a very demanding job, very high stress. It's 365 days a year. It doesn't stop. And I thought that I needed some sort of mindfulness, look after the mind. And I went and tried it, and you talked about vibrations. And it was a little bit of a ceremony. There's obviously some music going on, and it's a lot about breathing right, and feeling that vibration and energy, and there was a drum involved to so you could feel this vibration. I mean, this is spiritual stuff. I've never done it. I was open to it, but the way I felt after was like you're on another level, just clear, calm, and you can feel people's energy, and I think that's something that's very new for me, and I think that's something that I'm going to add to my game.
Mate, 100%. Well, my wife, Nikki, she's a meditation teacher, has been for quite some time. So meditation for me is nothing new, and I find JiuJitsu for me is meditation, because it's movement meditation, mindfulness, and meditation is really about being present. So you're just taking that time, but you are right, and it doesn't sound weird. For those who think it's weird, it's actually not. It's actually something that there's just so much noise going on, that how are you going to grow, experience, and expand if all the noise going on? You're dealing with so much noise, quieten your mind, and you'll be surprised what you can come up with. Like I said, or you'll be surprised what you can feel. And we just said before, I try to feel more, think less. That sounds a bit terrible. I do think, I just feel more.
Yeah, no, it's good.
But no, you are correct. So going forth in the future, what's your goal? What's your goal for life, and what would you like to do with people?
Great question. So look, obviously, I've been living a very, very disciplined life over the last sort of 9 to 10 years, very focused on what I wanted to achieve in the business world. And it so much so that it came down to sacrifice everything else around me. It was work, family, fitness. That's it. Yep. Everything else had to be sacrificed. And to grow a business at scale from it started with a few people, and now up to we're over 1,100 staff. It's very rewarding to watch other people grow and see them come up through the ranks. We call it our internal talent pool, and then bring them through and watch them grow into these senior leaders and watch them go about their business. It's very rewarding for me. Of course, there's monetary benefits to come along with that, but it's not about that. It's about fulfilling a passion.
Yep.
Whatever that passion might be. Someone might want to be the best salesperson ever, and someone else might want to be, I want to be a team leader. So it's completely different. So for me, moving forward, I do have some very clear goals as far as a business that I want to build and how big I want it to be. And I don't want to sound, too, up there and in the clouds, but I've built a business that's over $200 million in value currently, and I want to get to a $500 million business, and it will take time and it will take persistence, but we're on the right track, and I want to watch these people develop and grow internally, and that's the reward I get. No different from what you've got with the people you train, watching them grow. It's a very similar thing for me. So that, as far as business, of course I have personal goals, I have family goals, and I have fitness goals as well.
Well, I go to JiuJitsu black belt.
Yeah.
But so
I need a few years for that one. So it would be great. I mean, you've already taught me how to punch properly this afternoon. But for me, I do want to continue on the path I'm on. I'm still loving what I do. All right. If I wasn't, I'd find something else to do. But that's exactly what I want to continue doing. I do have some other ideas, but I'm going to keep that close to my chest for now. They're sort of in that early infancy stage of what I'm thinking about.
Well, hopefully we can do this again in the future as well.
Absolutely.
But I think what's important as well, and you said there, Mark, I don't think anyone should ever apologise for making money, because that's how this world works. If it was another world and I wanted a wall built, you'd give me a goat, or I'd give you a goat, or beaver pellets. But this day and age, it's money. But it's how you're earning your money. You're doing the right thing, and this is the same for me on the mats. Yep, I get paid for my time, my energy, and my knowledge, but I love to see people grow, and that's fulfilling, because one day we're all going to be old, hopefully, and the money, the cars, the whatever is irrelevant. It's about the soul, it's about the people, and that's what I love about you, because you're a success. you know, in the monetary form, in the business form, but you get the bigger picture. And as we've all got older and more mature, we realize what is most important. And we said before, money gives you options to enjoy the things and help the people that you want to help, not just the extrinsic things, which again, no need to apologize when it's done properly. When you've done it properly and you continue to help people, and I'm sure you've seen so many of your employees and you know their families, you know their partners, and you've seen them grow, and this is number one. This is beautiful. So don't ever apologize for what you're doing.
No.
I think it's super important. Where would people find you, Mark, if they wanted to know more about your businesses?
Well, the major website is dreamscapenetworks.com. If they want to look at one of our successful brands, then crazydomains.com. I do have my own website as well, if they want to read up a little bit about myself, markevans.ceo, so you can find a little bit of my history there. And you know, it gives you a good insight of where I came from. We talked about it a little, and you know, people are shocked to hear that you're a CEO of a technology company, but you didn't go to university.
Correct. Yeah.
And to the point where I've lived in other countries and I've had to register, you know, to get a visa, and I've said I'm the CEO of this company, and they said, okay, where's your university degree? And I said, I don't have a university degree. They said, you cannot be listed as a CEO in this country. And that rubs me up the wrong way, because anyone can do it if you put your mind to it.
Yes.
And it's like, why should that even be a thing?
Yeah.
You know, I can't be a CEO because I didn't go to university. Well, I went to the University of Life, and I've, you know, the School of Hard Knocks.
Yep.
And I've worked my way up, and you know, got myself to that position. So it's like, it's one of those. But
that's far more than any certificate, any university degree. With respect to those who have put the hard work in.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do not have to go that realm.
Agreed. And I think, look, in hindsight, and I don't regret anything that I've done, if I had my time again, I probably would go to university. But it's, you know, hindsight's a wonderful thing. You can look back and go, okay, maybe I should have done this, should have done that. But it's been a phenomenal journey, and I've learned so much, and it's made me the person I am, as has your journey. And you know, we've known each other 30 years now, so it's a long time. I've watched you grow from different careers into, you know, Professor Woodfield Jones, and it's been an absolute pleasure to read, and you know, because I follow you from overseas, obviously, and see your social media posts and the positivity that you're putting out there. I absolutely love it. I mean, I like all of your posts. I read all of them. You know, I look at the guys that you're training. I like to see the diversity that you're training and the different walks of life that they're from. That stuff really interests me. And I think, you know, for you being in jiu-jitsu, it's no different from being in the corporate world of technology. It's, you know, you're dealing with all sorts of people, and they're all individuals. They're all different personalities, and you've got to get the best out of them.
100%. And we know that, as we said, everybody's ordinary and everybody's extraordinary. So on that note, I'm going to wind it up because this guy's a busy man. I know he's going to go take care of a million emails and phone calls. So Mark, you are extraordinary. Love this guy, absolute legend. Go check it out. You know the links to check it out if you want to know more about Mark and his businesses. And we hope this inspired you a little bit. And I look forward to speaking to you again.
James,
thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, my
too,
brother.
mate.
Thank
Take care.
you.